All right, so we left at this point and we were talking about the uh, two things. One is that every business needs to define their behavior, and which is equal to AI design in our environment. And within the behavior, there are certain steps which uh, may be automated or a manual, where manual requires usually a manual intervention where a user comes in and he drives that state behavior within that larger behavior set. And that's where we said that we are, to be more precise and more thing, legacy systems, or what we used to do, whether you do a, a implementation based on the requirement or you use a BPM, more or less you do what is listed out here, that you define, understand the requirement from the business perspective, and you wire it down to a point where your customer or the user or the business signs off on your requirement. And based on that, you go ahead and do that coding and development effort. Uh, and that's where we said that this whole hard wiring is not necessary, and that is what we have taken it off, that all these hard wirings which are out here, you don't need it. All you need to know about it is what is your state, because a behavior is a collection of states, and you just need to define when that state is going to happen, irrespective of it is going to happen after this or after this. So that makes a big shift in the methodology itself, in which you don't have to really hardwire things. Rather, whenever you know that there is another set of state based on your plan changes, you just add another state and tell that when that state is going to happen. And all of these states is going to share a common state analyzer platform, which keeps on pumping, the conditions of, which states is going to meet that condition, and that state behavior within that larger behavior set follows that action. So with that, I'll just quickly now shift over to the real show.
Can you just once show that screen,
Okay.
straight screen?
Yes.
Other one which you actually were showing the diagram.
Yes.
Okay.
This.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and this was the legacy system, and now this is going to be, and that's where our proposition is that, you really don't have to hardwire things. You don't need these things. Rather, it's going to be a flat collection of behavior with these sets independent of these wires. Okay, so let's move on. So usually, the when you go here and you see that you don't have any specific admin privileges once you are in an admin role. So once the environment is set up for you, you will. You will you will get an empty screen out here, and it's a kind of a setup with no data, no configurations, no roles. So you will start from there. So I'll log in with one of the admin here, and so I will take one of the other screens probably here. So um, so this is a more latest version of the code here. So let me. So this is admin. Log in here. Okay, so the tool remains same, irrespective of the end user product. So you go here, I logged in with the admin, you see additional 3 configurations here, compared to what I have logged in as a user here. So if the admin here also can get into, and we'll shortly see that as well in the XCD environment also. So So the point of discussion, from the point of discussion perspective, if you have to imagine that you have got a system in place, a tool in place, wherein you have to configure, the first thing which you will do is you will go to the business management, in which you tell that how your business works. You'll set out the pillars for your business, and that's where you come across this screen where you have a business details. If you have multiple stores and branches, you will keep on those. You'll add those branches here. Then you will create your roles first, or you can do whatever. I mean, you can create employees also. You can just go ahead and add your employees, and if you have roles defined, you can do those. Then there are a set of permissions which is already there. Then you will define your roles, as many roles as you would like. You can keep on defining those roles here. And then you can define your departments. If specific roles are part of a specific department, so many times it happens that the same role appears in multiple departments, but the roles are different. So those things you can do, matching those departments' roles. There are a set of permissions which is by default. A lot of permissions are there. You can add your own permissions as well here. And then when you create an employee, you can attach it to a specific department or a role, and those roles can be attached to your permissions. You can, admin can reset the password. Individual user can do their password reset on its own. All those standard features. You may have a requirement to attach a particular user and access to a specific branch or a store. That also you can do. So those are the things here, basic details. Once your employee and departments and roles and permissions are set up.
So in departments, can the permissions be inherited from one department to other?
No, that is based on the role.
Okay.
You need to manage it with a role.
So if, for example, if I have 10 departments, then all those permissions and roles are individual for each department. There is no inheritance.
Depends. If you want to inherit, you can have a common role. It will automatically inherit.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
So permissions are a collection inside roles, right? So one role can have so many permissions, right?
Yes, as many as you like. Yes.
Okay.
So if you go to roles and let's say I click on an engineer, and I can keep on adding as many permissions as I want. Remove it, add it, it's your choice. And you define your own permissions also on top of it.
Got it.
Okay. These are the standard things, but it is all self. Any standard tool will have this anyways, and we are not innovating anything out of that. Those are the standard things. But yes, key things are that those permissions, there are some system defined permissions which we have already given that will help you. And then we have document related permissions also. You can create multiple classifications, subclassifications, and document types, and you can map those roles so that if you are, for example, chatting to a particular person and that person somehow attaches a document for which you do not have a permission, then if he tries to preview, he will not get an access. Similarly, you can have a upload, download, read privileges on a document also. So you have those options to link those roles, and those roles will have permissions attached in turn with those document classifications. Okay. And then you need then the very next thing, once you're done with your planning on the roles and departments, the very next thing is that you define your products, right? Whether it's a good or service. Yeah.
Sorry, Bhabi. I have one question about roles, because I come from a background wherein role mining and role things happens, right? So say if I'm not sure whether it is classified here or not, but say if you go to any existing corporation or organizations, they have their own set of rules and things like that, right?
Yes.
They have defined standard, their enterprise roles and all those. stuff and which is related with that. So is there any way, if you have any capability in this tool to import those roles inside your system and link with it, or you have to yourself define those roles?
So import in the sense that you already have a pre-existing role which you want to import from somewhere in this system?
Yeah. Is there? Yeah.
That is a possibility, and that is more of a migration activity. If you have to see from that perspective, we can give those features, and as we are implementing, we are adding those features because in some of the cases people are already using some of the system and they want to migrate that into our system, especially from the product perspective. So we are giving them bulk upload features as well. You have a CSV, dump it into a CSV, upload a CSV, right? And so those additional, as and when we are, seeing those requirements, we are adding those features as well. So yes, definitely that is because the component wise, I mean, yes, that obviously is is something which is possible to add it here.
Okay, thank you.
Once you are done with your basic setup, the very next thing which you would have to do is define the products which you buy, sell, and trade, right? So, or you produce. So, and that is where you come across, we have something called a line hierarchy and a company variant. So the line hierarchy, in case of Abatera is, this line hierarchy is something like, you want to classify where that product, which segment does that product lies in. So imagine from the perspective of Amazon or Flipkart websites, it will be easier to see it there that you go from electronics, and under electronics you go to specific mobiles and laptops, and under laptops you go to different models and and configurations. Similarly, you have kitchen appliances. So line hierarchy is all about that, in which you can define your own set of hierarchies, and based on that hierarchies, you can give out a search to your end customer. So any level you can go and define. So I have just one level within the hotel here in Abatera. Somewhere else I may have some more levels. You can go as many levels as you can and define your hierarchies, and then you will have a company variant, and different people will have different product has got different variants, 4GB model, 8GB model. So those variants, red color, blue color, if at all, that makes that product different. And a combination of this lowest hierarchy and a lowest company variant lowest hierarchy and the company variant is what will be used to define your product. And this is important because, tomorrow if you want to list it out from the e-commerce perspective, then this will help you to, for your customers to do a search under a specific line hierarchy level itself. So then comes the universal lines. Universal line is something which, irrespective of you or me defining your service from and giving it a custom name, I know that universal, I know that this item is going to belong under this specific thing, right? So you can define, so there are two perspectives. There is one perspective is that you are giving your own e-commerce using our system. Then you can define your own set of hierarchies and define how what is that specific good which you like to call it as. Another perspective is that you use our e-commerce platform, which is a common platform for every such businesses. Then we will define our own hierarchy, and this hierarchy in this, from the perspective of easy understanding, you can imagine that I can put a fridge under kitchen appliances, whereas in your VCA, you can say that it's an electronics item. So we may differ there, and that's why the universal line concept is within the ecosystem scope of that particular business. You can define your own universal line, And then there is another ecosystem, which is a superset of all ecosystems. And that's where we will be defining our own hierarchy. So if you want to have this thing specifically listed out on a global ecosystem, e-commerce system, then obviously, the product will be listed under kitchen appliances, because that's how the hierarchy is built. But if you want to have your own e-commerce, you will list, and customers visiting your website will see that product under electronics items. So that's how, this universal line, basically universal line is basically uniquely identifying your product or a service within your ecosystem. Okay. And once you have those universal lines defined, the very next thing which you do here is you define your custom lines on top of. So custom line is basically, we all know that Apple produces an iPhone. Now from the iPhone perspective, there are companies who trade that. They buy it from certain set of vendors and possibly manufacturers, and then they sell it also. Apple itself buys it, manufactures it. So they do not buy that iPhone, rather they manufacture that iPhone. So further qualifying a specific line on top of universal line is what is, we call it as a custom line. So here you are actually segregating your lines by specific qualifying parameters. Like you want to say that the same line is available only for business or for individual only. So when you say individual, you can create another line for a business, and how it is going to affect here, how it is going to help you is, we'll see that shortly. So, and then you basically, you can have as many combinations of it, and you will qualify it, because a line, a product which you are selling it for a business may have another set of behavior versus the same product when you are selling it to individual. Right. And that is what you do from the custom line perspective. You define and you configure it here. There is one more thing. In the custom line, from the universal line perspective, I see that IBM is a major customer for me, and I do he's a B2B, and I need to write and I need to put out a team and a process specifically for IDM. That is something which you can do by using a custom line. I can create a custom line. I can pull a universal line from here, and out of that universal line, I will create a custom line only specific for IBM. Though that same line, the same product, I sell it to everybody else. And we'll see the benefit of it, once we go to the AI design. So this is basically configuring how your business, what products you do, how employees are going to access things, right? And what departments you have, basically setting up your basic structure in place. Okay, so then you have, the relationships. What we see here is that generically baseline relationship, if you define, in the whole world, majority of the people in the trading business is either a buyer or a seller. The cases from the buyer-seller perspective. The another cases is employee-employer, and principal and broker. And then investor, investee, and lender, borrower. After our study, what we have seen is that the whole world's relationship can be classified under these 6 different types of relationships. And you might be playing in some case a buyer, another case a seller. So buyer, seller, employer, employee, principal, broker, investor, investee, and lender, borrower. Exactly like what we said, that lines is something a generic thing. Similarly, these are the base relationship, and any relationship for that matter, if you have to define, it will fall under one of these categories. For example, under buyer, you can create a wholesaler or a retailer, or under a buyer, if you're in a hospital business, you can say that patient, right? You can say your vendors under seller or a buyer, so those things actually gets extended within this, and you can go as much level as you want, and so that's how you define your relationship and extend your relationship, and this is what will help you in creating your codes. So once this is all set up, and there are some email related configurations, there are multiple options out there. In some businesses, in small businesses, there will be, they may be using just Gmail, somebody will be using Outlook, Yahoo, Rediff. So those configurations are by default available. If you want to add your own gateways and other things, you can just add it, and you will be able to add the email IDs within that domain, and it will start polling your SMTP and IMAP ports to send receive emails. So this is your basic business configuration which you have to do. Any questions on that before we move on to the next one?
So actually, I think you have already answered this, but regarding import, so import is going to come in, or is it presently available in this product? For
No,
example,
import is something which our consultants, our
okay,
implementation team is doing it, using scripts.
got.
So
For example, you're having 45 or 100 or 1000 employees already present in the system. So now going in employee and creating all those, instead of that, if you have import of CSV or something wherein template is defined, okay, that's okay. You already said that your consultants are doing. Thank you.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you
So,
open the universal line again?
okay, so universal line, consider it from the perspective of, let's say what is the most common iPhone? Let's say a iPhone model 764 GB, right? So the whole world knows this iPhone as an iPhone, right? So from the manufacturer standpoint, uh, the manufacturer of a product defines that what that product is all about. Right?
Yeah, can you open this the universal line screen?
Yes. So these are the one of the universal lines. So I'll just add a line here, and what this will have here is, or maybe I can just open one of the. So what this will have here is that, and I am on a universal line, right? Yeah. So basically, this is, as a business, you may be a trader, right? You may not be a manufacturer, for example. And if you are not a manufacturer, you are going to identify a particular product. So there are two possibilities there. One is that the same product, you want to sell it with another brand, your own brand. But that product is a product which is manufactured by a certain company. So a product which is universally known by the makers of it is what you configure as a universal line.
Okay, now here is my question. Let's suppose I am running a business. I am dealing with the mobile, at the same time I am dealing with the computer, and I'm same time I'm dealing with the different type of the electronic item. And when I'm listing these product in my application, in my front end, where the customer can choose, the configuration should be depending, or the searching should be depending on the property of that line. Let's say if it is the mobile, then it should be coming the display of the screen size. RAM should be there, processor should be there, but that should not be applicable on the television. So how we can configure this thing?
See, there are two things. One is your television hierarchy, and you have a hierarchy, right? So one is the television, and another is your laptop. So you have to see that where your customers will see that television finally, and where your laptop is going to be seen. correct? So
Right.
one is that you will define your line hierarchy on your own. I don't know, you can start and create a new line hierarchy, and once that particular product is available to you, you will join that hierarchy with that particular item. So and once that is available, you want to further qualify on that, then we will come to a point where we will show you in the next section that how you will extend your variables. You want to influence the customer's buy or sell behavior using some additional properties on top of it, then you will add and qualify multiple variables on top of it. So this is something is your basic base model. As universally we know that television is in your system is going to be known under a certain hierarchy, which is electronics item. So you'll create an hierarchy to that lowest level, and you will just link it to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. And once that universal line, the base thing is set up, then you further qualify custom line on top of it using those universal lines, and say that this same item, which was a universal, I do a buy also and I do a sell also, right? And then some of them, some of the item, for example, which you buy, you consume internally, some of them you do it externally, or both. Right, so further level of classification you can do on top of it. You may have an audience which is individual or in business or a both. So generally speaking, this is what you go and do on top of those universal lines. Okay, any more questions here?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so now once you have done a very basic configuration about and a very generic configuration about your system, the next part would be to come back and see the, so I'll take up the finance management in the end. We will try to see, how your process management is going to look like. Though in reality, you will do your finance management first because you have defined your lines. So now, once you go to, now this is the place where you are going to define your business process, right? How your whole, how you are going to run your show. And as you see here, we have 3 sections because we discussed earlier that the whole world can be painted under these 3 umbrellas. One is on the relationship, another is on the transaction style, and the third is the line configuration. Right, so so relationship is how your relationship is going to be behave in its own cycle. The transaction style can be, if you have to imagine, it can be a online and an offline style, a home delivery and a dine-in style, right? And then you have the third configuration where you have individual line configuration, wherein every product behavior you can set it up. A bunch of product, or you have an ability to define it at individual product, or at the same individual product for a specific on a specific relationship. So these are the 3 configurations, and we will go ahead and get into the AI design management. And for that, I'll just switch it over. So I'll do a back and forth switching between these 2. Okay, so we'll come to the form there. So we will go here in the AI design management. So here in the Avatera perspective, so the first thing is, where do you want? So I have created, we have got some, we know that reservation is a process here. It's an inquiry starts, and then from there, we create quotations, and from quotations, we finally end up creating end up having a approval and a quotation from the customer, and then that goes on. So the first thing you do here is, you create your AI design. Okay, you name your AI design, and you tell that this is the master flow or not, and you can create if you want to categorize, for a easy visualization, you can create and put it into a specific category so that visually it becomes more easy to identify. Uh, then you define that this particular behavior is going to be part of which role, and you link that role into that, and then you define. So to trigger that particular form, to trigger that particular behavior, if there is any form which you want to link it or which you want to design, you will go and link that particular form to it. Okay, so this is a very basic definition of an AI design. In which you chose on which I'm going to do it in a transaction style or a specific line. If we go on a specific line, for example, in this terms, that is a transaction style, because in Abathera, in a hotel business, if you will see, in the hotel business, what you have here is that you start everything with an inquiry. Whereas from the production standpoint, from the manufacturer standpoint, you already know that you are not going to get an inquiry, rather, and you can start from inquiry as well. But, here how we're starting here is that we already know that we have a particular set of part number which we want to produce. So there you will go directly in the line configuration, right? And you have we have got separate, grinding, drilling, file and inspection. This is one of the AI design. If you see the AI design, we have the definitions of those AI designs. We have defined a specific roles who are going to be attached and going to have an access with these AI designs. And then you can define. Right now we don't have any form. They wanted a specific, just one single thing to trigger this whole design. So we just give them a label to trigger it. But you can have a full-fledged starting point as a form to trigger this whole thing. So that is the design part. Next is, you have designed you have configured your behavior at a line level. Now, this particular behavior is going to impact which all lines is what you link here, right? That we know that these are the different part numbers which is available, for me to produce. So I'll go ahead and link these part numbers, because these lines, for example, my laptop, my grocery, irrespective of, you may have electronics item, a different behavior for your sales, whereas your grocery items may have a different behavior for your sales. So in that case, you will create two different AI design, and you will link the electronic items with the electronics AI design, and a grocery item with a grocery AI design. So once you are able to do that, which means that you have defined your a large subset of, the high level segregation. You have done your segregation of your process, and you have linked that this process is going to be going to influence these many lines. Once you have done that, then you will go inside that, right? So once you have to go inside that, what you will do here is you have to define your states, right? So in these states, you have multiple things, right? So as an organization, you may be defining a lot of forms out there, right? So there are multiple things out there, and let me just bring up that PPT once again here. So every step which you have, or from this perspective, if you see every step which you define, there are two possibilities. Either that step, whenever that state happens, I think this one, right? So whenever that state is achieved, whether you either you want to have somebody's attention on that, and somebody needs to perform some activities on that, or you just want to have a auto-generated thing, and it goes back and executes something in an automated fashion. Either of these two things which you do on a specific state. So that is what you go and define. But before you go and define that states, you still have got a blank system. When you go to a manufacturing setup, your properties and the way you define your business is different from if you go to a hotel industry, right? So the terminologies are different. Your processes are different, your states are different, your users are different, your roles are different, right? So the first starting point here is that you go ahead and define your variables. And when I say define your variables, for example, in case of Abatera, right, if it's a hotel industry, what we will do here is there is some basic things which we already provide, right? When you created a line, we already knew that, these are your packaging hierarchy and, the connection part line, very basic, limited, information which is applicable for the whole world. You can use it, you can discard it, no problem. But the very next thing which you would like to do for your business is you will go ahead and add you'll extend those variables out of those products. So from the hotel industry perspective, in this project, we extended those variables that, there are something called sharing, child extra bed, hotel pricing percentage, ticket pricing percentage. You keep on adding those, whatever suits your business. And there are another set of using those. So we call that as a single variable, and imagine from the technical perspective, you can imagine that I'm giving you an option to create your tables, do your data modeling on the fly. Okay. So you have first thing is we defined your base pillars, using lines and individual and business, and we say that the whole world cannot go outside of these base pillars. And once you have done that, then we are giving you an option to extend that, extend your property and name those properties on top of it using single variables. Now, on top of those single variables, I'm again giving you a table variable, a collection of single variables, you can call it, because what will happen here is, and what you usually do is that you go to a specific table and then you create a table and you attach a set of columns, add set of columns, and then you enter data on top of it. So unlike your relational database system, where you keep on adding tables and columns, and then whenever you add a set of records, then all the columns, if that table has got 50 columns, all the 50 columns, whether you like it or not, will occupy that space, even if you are punching in a value for a couple of columns, right? Rest 48 columns also gets the value. Here it is not the case. It occupies exactly that much of a space as you want to, as you have configured and as you want to use it to enter those details. What that means is that you can actually, within a set of legacy system where you have got 100 column one table here and there, if you want to just do a separation of 5 columns, insert some data, another set of 6 columns, you insert a data in combination, you say, you can exactly do it by creating tables here on the fly, and you will just go ahead and enter those. So if you see here, hotel pricing details is something which I need. I have single variables which I have created, and I know that in my hotel pricing I just need a season meal plan from date to date, minimum number of days, extra bed, adult extra bed, and these are the full board, half board, and BB is basically bed and breakfast, so whatever I need for my business, I just went ahead and created those. So what you are doing here is that right from scratch you are building your structure. If I go here in XCD, and go inside that and go to attribute creation, you will see a completely different set of things out here. The single variables out here is if you see here, it's a porosity, hidden volume, grinding volume, hidden results, model, Sachi rework, and there are tons of them actually. Part number related things will come here. I think in here I think we have created around 2000 variables. So imagine that you have a data model with 2000 different information out here, and then we have created tables out here, and this scroll is quite big here. Yeah, so as you see here, these are the variables which we will use in the runtime to define how my behavior, in what condition it is going to behave in what way. Okay, so remember these. And then we have some table variables. You have seen that thickness is comprises of lower and upper values, and similarly counter bore die. So as you see, we have two different businesses in front of you, and both of them has got a complete granular level extendability of their systems, and if you intersect, you won't see anything common here.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So the custom line is generally a basic data type of values that you provide. The custom line single variable is something which wherein we define different kind of data types, right?
The data type, all the commonly available data types we already know. Every system has got, every programming language has got that. So we have given you the same data types. But the important thing which we are giving, and we will see that shortly as how does that help also, is that you have, first thing you need to, if you have to think generic, right, where you want to paint the whole world, you need to first understand this concept, that is there any business which does anything out of this? And if there is one, then we are not going to solve the whole world's problem. Right? And that is what we are saying, that this connection code, transaction code, and unit code, employee, business, individual, custom lines equal to universal line plus some customization equal to universal line is goods plus service. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically your goods and service, I'm giving you at that level, you define your properties, and a collection of properties, you group it and say that, that is what you can label it, and you see it from that perspective. So for example, address is a table where you say that, in India, we say that it's a pin code, in US, it's a zip code, in Dubai, it's a PO box, it depends. So I can't paint, and I will not ask you that my system has got a universal set of all these three countries, and then you went to Uganda, they don't have any such system, right? And then you come back and say that, okay, I have to build something for Uganda. Right, so I'm giving you the complete freedom. You know your business best, which geography it is going to operate. You extend it on your own and you define it. Okay. All you need to care about here is that, and this customization and extension is available at all of these levels. In one business, we needed it at a custom line. Another business, we needed it at a business, another employee. So wherever you need it, you extend it. For example, here we extended it in employee signature, because as you see, as you would have remembered that there were signatures at each level. When they put out the reading, they put their, they click on a checkbox and the signature automatically appears there. So we didn't have anything in the backend database or some kind of relational database configuration where we have a column where we put a signature and then we put a path. No, it's not like that. You just do it on the fly.
Yeah, so when you, I mean, just as an inquisitive, right? So all these things from the technical perspective, right? I know it's not a relational database, but is it a JSON object or something like that, or I mean,
no,
files?
JSON object is just a communication payload, and that's all. I mean, we are using gRPC which is a binary data transfer without the REST. For all those REST communication, we do use JSON. And we have in the backend technology stack, we use everything. We use MySQL as well. We use MongoDB as well. We
MongoDB.
use Hadoop HDFS as well. We use Spark as well. It depends what fits where. So we have the complete technology stack. We just put in and plug in the right technology at the right place. So it's a huge technology stack. You will name it, you will find it here.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so so once you have defined your things, and and as you see, you have a opportunity to extend it at any level. The very next thing which you do here is, and I'll show here, is there will be always a master data out there, right? So the master data is something which you always have to go and configure. So the master data, how do you do that? Once you have defined your attributes and singles and tables, you will go ahead and create your master data. So master data, for example, here, I don't know if, okay, so Al Jawahar, I know we have put in some data. Okay, so now for this Al Jawahar hotel, right? There is a hotel pricing details. That's the contracting sheet based on Al Jawahar and Abatera, and we have configured this hotel pricing details as a table variable, which is a collection of single variables. So you have an option here to toggle. You can every line which we are configuring, you have an option to individually add those values here, and you can go ahead and add those values, and it will be available as a data for you on that specific custom line. And then you can go and find those hotel pricing details, which is a table variable, and then whatever single variables you have attached, that will be available for you here. Okay, so this is the master data. Okay, oops. So I just clicked it on the wrong. Let me go back here. Okay, so so we have the hotel pricing details, and you went ahead and added those data, and this is a one type activity. This is where we are going to add that CSV thing as well, in which sometimes it becomes a little painful, if you have a if you have a lot of data for a specific hotel and you want to upload it for the first time. So yeah, so here for every rate, as you see that this is the season, and their contracts goes by, this is BB, HB, and what is that? FB is basically specific to hotel industry. It is a bed and breakfast. FB is full board, which means all 3 meals, and half board is basically your breakfast and lunch, and there is one room only kind of thing. So basically you go and set it up. Hotel industry is very specific to season. From the date perspective, it is sensitive. The prices varies. The extra bed charges varies. So you go and you configure your things. If I have to go here, for example, in NextCD, and show you those data, how we did it, there the values are completely different, right? So here what matters to us is the values of custom lines, right? The custom lines, I know that this particular part, and right now I don't have, so there the values may differ by a particular part number may have a different thickness values. The 1.3 to 1.5 is what may appear there. This part number may have a value of a thickness as 1.3 and 1.5, whereas other part number may have a value of the same thickness as 2.1 to 2.4. And in the runtime, that's how the master data will come in. And I think this may have that. Okay, this has got a single variable only. So part numbers and batch numbers and sizes is what is mentioned here. So So that's how the data changes. Basically, you are configuring your own, and you are putting your master data on your own. And that is what you do with the attribute value. Once you create your attributes within an AI design, the very next thing which you do there is define the master data. And once that master data is there, once that variables and master data is there, the very next thing which you will do here is that you will create your states. Okay, so the states can be in our example here. As an end user, you were seeing that we logged in with a specific role, with a user, and you saw that you are getting the list of tasks, and that's how you will. We know that in this process of grinding, drilling, and final inspection, we have got multiple states, right? So one is the operator, so within a grinding, we have got 3 steps. The first step is the operator step, where he goes and triggers that form, and he fills in those values. The next step is the QC engineer within that grinding. And then the HOD, comes in and does an approval. So you basically go ahead and define those steps here. So as you see here, at each step, we have 3 different steps in these. So we call it as a context. That grinding is one such context, right? And so we have 3 contexts: grinding, drilling, and final inspection. And within each of these contexts, we have 3 different states, which is performed by 3 different roles. Okay, so altogether we have got 9 of them. So you go ahead and define it. There is no sequence, which is very important to understand, and that is what I was showing in the PPT, that there is no sequence in which you have to hardwire it. All you have to do here is, and they have got it. So let's come here in Avatera also and quickly see how that state is looking like. So you have things at a transaction style, and I have a state which is an inquiry state, and I can click on it. And okay, so I went, okay, one second. So I went into the state directly. I wanted to show you how the state creation happens. So the state is the important part. Why? Because see, the state is out of your flow. You define your, keep on defining your states, right? And in the state, the important thing here is that you define, you know your business best, so you know that this particular state usually takes after creation. Right? As customer has given you an order, for example, the order has come to you, but you usually take from, or from the point an order has come to the point an order moves to the next step. From the time it has come into our system, it takes this much time from the creation. But still, even after creation, you don't have the right people engaged on that project. There is a latency. Once they start, you know that what is the time it takes to complete that, right? So those are the times which you configure it here. And these are the times which will help you in seeing the progress of the task in the real time. Your bar charts which you were showing, which were showing up in your task list with a red or a green and a yellow. That is how it will calculate based on based on these settings. Now, the next important thing from each of your tasks is that you will define your roles, right? Since you have defined your roles, you will tell that this task is going to be done by which person. You may have a predefined role, right? In which case you will just go and select a particular role out of it. Or in some cases, you may not have a role. You don't know the role yourself. In the runtime, when that state executes, you want to define that role. And in that case, you have extended your variables. Remember that? You will click on a dynamic and you will say that, okay, this is the variable which is going to define my role in the runtime. The value which this variable is going to get is what will influence my role. And from the once that variable gets the role, then you are going to assign a person within that role. Okay, so let's take an example that you got your role, either a dynamic or a static, right? Once you have a role, the very next thing which you need is that the user assignment process. In that role, you may have multiple users. Which user will get that particular alert or a task, right? So you have an algorithm. Right now, we have 3 algorithms in place. One is the least occupancy. If you select the least occupancy, so we track that every person in that role, how much open task he has. So if you select this least occupancy algorithm, then what it will do is it will pick up the least occupied user at that point of time when this state becomes live, and it will pick that user and assign a task to that user. Some companies do this, some may not do that. In one of the insurance business, we did a least occupancy thing. Another in XED, they use a claim based. The claim based is that they know that they have 3 shifts, and they create they already perform. They say that, okay, in this shift I am going to have all the operators need to get this task in their inbox, and whosoever starts it first is going to get that. It's kind of a CVS system. Once you check out, it's logged for everybody else. So that's a claim based algorithm. If you select that this task should follow the claim based thing, then all the people in that role will get that task. Whosoever starts it checks out that and locks it out. Okay, the third algorithm is round robin. You don't care, that this is it is immaterial for me. In that role there are 5 people. First you give him task, next you give him task, and so on and so forth. So you have these 3 algorithms to choose from. The roles, you have an option of a static as well as dynamic. Okay, and you just defined how your state is going to look like, and that's how your progress is going to be tracked based on these timelines. Okay, the last thing which you will have to do is, if you think that that state is something which requires a form, which requires a user intervention, and I think that's the reason you are defining a role and an algorithm, right? Then you will also choose a form. So I have a hotel search form is what I have attached to it. So what you just did was that you just defined your state. You said that which role it is going to perform in case it's a manual user influenced role. And then you attach a particular form, and then you attach a particular algorithm. We have 3 algorithms. We have some more algorithms in place. A sticky algorithm, which is going to come next, wherein a customer, a person, the person in that role has already catered to that customer. Next time the customer comes walk into me, and you want the same salesperson or the same customer relationship officer, or should cater to the same customer, then you can choose that algorithm and it will be assigned to that person again. So that's the 4th one, which is in progress, and hopefully will come very soon. So this is the state definition, and this is the form definition, right? So form you have defined your role. Now the next part is you need to define your you have done the linking for this specific state. You need to define when that condition is going to happen, right? And that's the most important thing, right? And what property should this watch for, and when it should get triggered. And that is where you click on that settings of that particular state, and then you have a full battlefield to influence and play around as when you can, right now we have functions here, we have all those operators here. You can write a complex, condition and using those variables out here. So I can write a specific hotel pricing detail, and I think I will have it here in the drilling thing. So right now we are having very basics of that. We just pull in here in custom line and then say that, okay, whenever and there are a lot of them. So so whenever I can just write here that so whenever my grid value dot lower, right, is going to be lower value is going to be less than a certain value, right? Less than, let's say, 1.2. That is when my this is going to trigger, and I can, also use an AND operator and say that, after this I will have another one, and then I can say that, my hardness, and based on your imagination, as many conditions you want, and these conditions will be passed and that will be saved. And whenever this condition, from anywhere in the world within that context of your behavior suits this condition, then this state will get live. And what it will do here is it will find that particular role, see that static or dynamic, find that algorithm, and then it will go ahead and assign that person, and that user will get that particular state, a instance of that state, a copy of that task in his inbox. Okay, so here we have, as you see here, we have those states, 9 states which are defined. Once you are done till this point, you have put your conditions in, you have defined your roles, who is going to do what, you have then as you remember that we have linked a particular form. Where does that form comes from, right? That is still okay, these all are fine, but you are still coding the form. So that's the another place where you go ahead and create your forms, and that is your user forms. There are two places. One is the template forms. So the template forms is something which is universally available for your whole organization, or you can make it available for a department also, which is just a template. You have defined, somebody has done a good job, you want to just reuse it, or you just want to import it, that particular form, and just customize it on top of it. So that is what you do in a user form. And I'll just open one of the drilling form which we have seen there. Now if you see from the drilling form perspective, these are the forms which we created, and as you see, these are all editable buttons. There is no coding required. You have 4 sections here. You can achieve a complete thing by using these these components. So everything you see here is built from dragging and dropping this. So as you see here, this is a text box. We have been using text box here. You have a text box here which you can go and drag and drop, and I'll use one of the training thing to show you that. Okay, so admin. So what was the password of this? Okay, so I went in here, and then I went in here, and then I have this line configuration, and let's go out to some of the okay, so I'll just go to leave management, and these are the older ones. People have copied everything in anything here, so we can also do that. So we'll create a new form here. Okay, so how it works here is that you have to define and imagine, right? You might have a designer to paint it very good, and then you would like to copy it here. So I'll go ahead and pull some of the text. So there is a text area, text box. So I will start defining my text, starting with text box. I'll edit it. I will resize it. I'll put a condition. So once you have a text box, the very next thing which you would like to do with the text box is, you want to set its CSS, how it is going to look like. So you have some pick and choose kind of options here. You can select a particular color and influence that my text box is going to look like green background or red background or whatever. So you have those options out here. and then you can select your colors. Any CSS, whatever you do using coding in the CSS is what is out here. You can rotate, you can put it at certain angles, and then you can define your font size, what kind of font size it is going to look like. You want to influence the width of it. I want to make it a little shorter, so I can make it here. I can make 0 pixels to, let's say I want to put some margin, you put a 10 pixel margin. You want to increase the height to 80, you can do that. You reduce it to 10, the way, whatever you want. I want more space somewhere else, 51, or maybe just 11. All those things are influenced here. And once you influence your CSS, and you have those, if you are very fond of those RGB values, and as a designer, you remember your designer has given those RGB exact codes, you can just type in here in this box, and it will follow that in the runtime. And as you are defining and dropping, you will be able to preview it also as how it is going to look like, for your perspective. So once your text box is there, then you may like to pick up, and we can obviously talk. You want some drop down component, then how your drop down is going to look like. I will say that, okay, my drop down is something, let's say, is going to you want to show in the drop down, for example, okay, so custom line, for example, we have a lot of variables out there. So you see that, okay, my custom line, and where is it gone? Okay, so custom line, I want to say that I want to put a condition that this drop down is going to list me all those lines which has got a particular condition, and line name is like going to be a percentage. I know that I have lines which is starting with 2U, and I say just percentage, and I will just put it out here, this, put it in a quotes, and this quotes, and I'll so this is my condition in which my it is not going to pull me in all the data. And then I will say that, okay, so the configure options, configure columns will be there, and I want to see that, okay, I want to display here the line description, right? And I will go ahead and save it, and the moment you go ahead and save it and say that, okay, let's see how it is going to look like, you can, this drop down. So the third column is where you need to bind it here. So I mean, the drop down is something which is going to list the values, but once a user selects, where will that value be stored, right, in your form? So what you will do here is, currently it is not binded with anything. So I'll go ahead and bind it with, let's say, a custom line where, and let's say, I don't know, so where I'm just binding it with anything. So all of them are table variables here. So bind it with maybe any, maybe okay, so, or maybe with the line name itself. So the moment it is, you bind it, in the 4 tab, you will see that it has been binded, and if you are doing a multiple, you may happen that you want to bring in multiple values out there, and again, this is too deep inside that but from the imagination perspective, if you want to display multiple columns, you want to bring in multiple columns, but you want to display specific column only, then you can just say here that which one you want to display, because line can only display one thing at a time, right? So and then once a user submits, then what do you want to submit? So I'll say line ID, because and I can just bring in here from the custom line perspective, a line here, and I'll say that, okay, let's bring in line ID also, because a user selects a description, I want to pass on a line ID, right? And then let's preview it here. Let's see if it, okay, so it does it because it may not have a value in the backend. So that's how you keep on defining, and that's how we have defined the, this, if you see here, any of these drilling forms, this is how we define. We pulled up the, if you see any of these grid, you have a grid data type here, and we have dragged and dropped it, and then on top of it we have done a CSS, and then and then a variable is attached to that, and that variable, you can see that we have attached a custom line dot drilling remaining thickness dot grid value. This is the key from out of your table and single variable which is attached to this. If you go to somewhere else on this, it is if okay, so this is actually using something else. So this is using a label grid actually, and you can then influence that. If you see that last one, the last one has got a condition, and it is picking up the in the runtime the value from the configured master data, because you have to show that this is the lower value is 1.3 and upper value, so you have put a condition out there to show it up here. And then in some cases, for example, here in function, you know that the judgment is going to be a calculation of many other things. So on the form, so once you have defined your forms and grids, you will go ahead and click on a function, and this is one such function. Because you have defined your tables and singles, and from that, like you do in an Excel sheet or any coding, you know that this particular variable is going to be a minimum of that grid, and grid you are taking that 0, 1 to 5, 1, that the full row up till this point. You take all the grid values and take the minimum of it, and then minimum of another another set of grid values, and then another set of values, and you put a OR condition. We are actually building with all these tool set. No coding required. You are just as you used to do in a Excel sheet. It's user friendly. You just click and select a particular item, and you build your whole complex formula out here. And this is one of the complex formula which is out there in production, running for over a month now. Okay, so you have those exponent, sum, subtraction, max, min functions here, which you can use generically for any business. So basically, all in all, what I'm trying to say here is that you have, if you imagine any form in the world will have one of those 20 components. There will be some additional exceptional 80% of, I'm not saying that we are 100% there. There are some additional things which we are still improving and adding, and we are working on to analyze. But it will more or less will solve almost most of the cases which you need in your environment. So for example, in here, we have user forms, which are, I think, so hotel search, and hotel search is somewhat like this, in which we get the agent details, customer details. So all in all, your any form will get an object, which is one of those components, one or the other way. And it is up to you as how you define your CSS, how you define your images. You can make it more fancy. You can, I can use one of the image, and I can use a lot of icons out there to show, so that in the runtime it looks more fancy, to the end user, and end user will be able to just um, see it by the icon itself which we are using. So those things are also possible. So for example, if you know let's see, I saw that image, right? So I want to display on the top of my image, and I want to just go and upload and show up, let's say, this image, and it will go and display that image. And in the runtime, if I preview, and I will have to do those, a little trick of resizing those image. And in the runtime, whatever you upload, you can resize it. I can say that, okay, so this image, let's define its size to a smaller one here, and then let's preview it. Your form is going to look like so. And you want to change it, you can change it as many icons as you want. You can keep on adding it. Okay. So now the another problem which user, so you have all those sections which to define your roles, to define your form. We showed you the CSS thing, and then the next is the attaching the variable, so that every variable out there in the column has got a variable which will be coming in the runtime. And then the fourth and the most important thing here is which if you would have to imagine from the legacy standpoint, if I ask you that, in this form, I want a finance guy to not see this particular field, whereas I want the other role, let's say an operator, to see this value in a editable mode, and in the runtime this another role to show the another column here as a masked value. So you will say that, okay, so I'll have to go and code, because in the form, every field which you are running, you will have to go and code for it and attach a particular roles and permissions to it, right? Here it is very simple, okay, so whichever component you need, you'll just edit it, come to the roles and permissions, and define the permissions here. That, okay, I want on this particular field a HOD or an operator to have a masked value. Okay, so the moment I'll do a mask in the runtime, he will just see the jumbled words, cross, 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 that's all. If I do it as a read, the same form, if a operator logs in and sees, he will be able to see as a read-only mode. It will be grayed out. He will see the data, it will be in a read-only mode. The same field, if a HOD logs in and I give him a write permission, since you can define your role, you can keep on adding as many roles and define these permissions at a form level on every component. And in the runtime, that is how it is going to behave. Okay, getting the idea? I mean, I know this is too much of it in just one session, but this is something like a Lego, in which you get your nuts and bolts and you build whatever you want to build, a big machine, or you want to build a doll. It's up to you.
This is actually the more core of the complete product.
Yes.
And this is actually seems very good, and I don't know how the performance is going to be, but this is actually very good.
Yeah, the whole thing is that it is not one single system which is shared in a multi-tenant way. It's an exclusive system. So whatever variables and tables which you are building, it is specific to you. It is not going to solve somebody else's problem. So we do not go and create a big single table with 200 columns, which is going to solve every such businesses. And next day we get another problem, we add 50 more columns to that. No, you need just those 200 columns to define your whole business. You just define it is specific to your business. No sharing kind of thing, as what you saw there, right? The basic thing is that only. So the performance is not a bottleneck at all, because nothing is shared.
Correct. And other thing, on side of when it is on the cloud side, so my just question is like, are we using any cache mechanism here or as well, like
Yes.
as Azure and all has Redis cache or something in that?
Yes,
Because
yes, we do have both. We were in the previous, some of the versions we are still on Memcache. The latest versions for past 1 year is all Redis.
awesome, awesome. Okay.
Okay, so the another powerful feature out here again is you know uh, so this whole condition. Okay, and this is one of the most powerful feature. Why? Because this right now is something which you will have to type in now, but we are working in the next release to make it user friendly as what we have made for the other conditions which you just saw. So for example, here you have used those conditions, right? So this condition you have wrote the similar kind of feature which we are going to put it across in the next one. In
I mean,
this,
sorry, you mean to say that the graphical representation of all these things, right? So here you have to write it. The next release will have their graphical
no,
representation.
not that, not that.
Okay.
This all graphical representation is drag and drop, which you just showed you. This has all been done by a non-technical person. You don't need a technical guy to
No,
do
no,
this.
yeah. So, but I can see
No,
that and I can understand.
yeah,
For
what
the
I'm saying, the next
yeah.
one feature which I haven't talked about and showed you is one additional feature where we are giving you to even further customize it. Okay, and that is where So there's one small condition block, and I'm just trying to see. This is we are in drilling. Let's go to the final inspection. Um, you want even more strong hold, right, of your conditions, and you want to write your full if then else kind of conditions out here. Then you have an option here, and I think I clicked on the remarks section. Let me go to signature. There's an image. I think yes. So see here, and you can write a condition here, and it may sound a little tricky for you as of now, but in reality, this is very, very simple. It's just like an Excel if and else. Some of the condition, we are exposing, and what you will have here and what developer will probably need here is that all the variables which you have here, you may at some point of time like to trigger based on some conditions, some other things, right? So there are two things only. One is FG, and another is FFM. And this is a little more technical, but you can imagine that you have only two types of thing. One is the FG. FG is basically giving you the values on that state in the runtime, and you can access any values by using fg dot value dot that variable. Okay, and you can there are some set of these are little technical names, but we are working on to make it more user friendly. So these are the only possible things which you will use, and that will help you to access and write any complex if then else statement like this, that we have an inspection status and it's read only. Then I want to set the value of a particular key, which is another field here. The moment you put in some value here, I want to automatically set this value to this, right? You want to do some cascading operations, and you go here and just write an if then else. So this if then else in the next release is going to be just a drag and drop like what you have seen there. So at every form level, you have an access to the whole data across this. So this cell can access this data, any grid data, plus you have an access to the data as what you might have seen here, that we can go and put a condition and access another AI design, and access that variable data here. So across, you can, within your own behavior, you can access your data across all states. You can, I want to see that, okay, I want to see what is the value of that state variable, and then based on that, I want to do something. You can do that. You can cut across and go to another AI design, and you can do that. So that's all about it. So this is one of the, yes.
Sorry, Arbabi, I was mentioning the same thing about this condition that I was referring that in the next releases you will make this programmatical condition as a drag and drop. So
Correct,
I was mentioning to that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, it is going to be exactly like what I have shown here. This is a drag drop, right? So that condition is going to come like this. So you will have a if, controls like if then. So like when then you have seen there. Similarly, if else, and you will have more easier names like refresh function, right, and call function, so that everybody end user understands it. He doesn't have to be technical enough there.
We can show that the signature thing in action. That will
the task list, right? So
in the task, when somebody checks the box, the signature comes automatically.
So right.
That
so
was not shown earlier. So I
okay.
think that.
Okay. So yeah, that we can quickly show.
So you have, you have a previously stored signatures, and just you do it and the signature will come.
No, not previously stored. You will go and
No.
upload it.
Actually, I think he was saying that will be coming from employee form.
Yes, right? Not from the employee form, from the employee variable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you remember, I have just defined here an employee. This is on a direct CD, right?
Yeah,
so,
one string was declared actually.
Yes.
You mean to say employee user object? So there will be an attribute as a signature.
Yes. So I have created. If you remember here, so I have created an attribute under the employee, right? Single variable employee signature.
Yeah.
And from the table values, I just uploaded his signature, and then it is available for us to view. And then wherever you have attached it, and let me just come out of admin, and 1 second.
It is just a case of how this can be used. Signature is just a case that is also configured. It's not something hard coded. So like cases are possible.
It is similar to a photo attribute, right? So
yes. Yeah. Based on your data type, if the data type is image, the photo is also an image data type, like string or integer. You just you'll get an upload button there. If it's a date data type, you'll get a a calendar pop out. Like I think we might just quickly see that date thing. We had it here. So design. Okay, so not in this one, attribute value creation, and I had this custom lines. And if I go to any of these and see here, if because it's a data type, it is automatically. So if I, let's say, add another value, it will give me that option to select a date. If it's an image data type, it will give me an option to, like what we saw, we uploaded that training image, right, in the form. So in the runtime also, you'll get an upload if it's an image data type. So and in the action, if you have to see here, so this is this is the 15th March, so just yesterday is created. So let me do this here. Okay, so this is another task. I don't know what this task is all about. So final, I will just resume one of the, let's see, I logged in with an operator. Okay, so 28th February. So see, this is non-editable. I cannot edit, but there is a condition out here. The moment I do this, this becomes green, and the signature comes and automatically puts it there.
Yeah. and that is all defined. This linking and is interlinking is defined by the condition clause.
On the yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are a couple of conditions. You know, you sometimes get a drop-down cascading conditions as well. Say, for example, better do it here. Admin. Okay, so this was, so we were talking about that. What was that I was showing to you? So you, okay, so yeah, so that, for example, so template forms. This one, for example, I think I just created it for somebody yesterday for them. So some of the data, I think there is some issues here, most likely. So what will happen here is that if we you can actually, okay, so you can actually edit a condition. So this is a cascading drop-down example.
Exactly same as country or state drop down or something.
Yes, you got it. So
Yeah.
So you have, those custom line, and then you configure it, and then you got it displayed here, and then you come here, and then you cascade it, and based on the same values, you define your configure and configure it here. So
the moment you select Uttar Pradesh, all the districts of Uttar Pradesh
will come in the next one. And
yeah.
And there are others also. For example, let me show you very quickly. Okay, so radio buttons, for example, right? That I mean, these are the common things which people use, right? So radio buttons, you want to, okay, transaction style, we don't have anything. So radio buttons in a template form, I'll just go ahead and create a new template form, and I say that, okay, so I have, where is that radio button? Okay, so I have a radio button, and I have another radio button. I'll say yes, no kind of thing, right? So I should get an option to only click on one of them at a time, right? Because that is what is the purpose of a radio button. So as you would imagine, the way I will do this is that I'll give it the same variable. I'll attach it with the same variable. And let me again go to that. So I mean, let's do it with the. So I tend to always use, but I can use any of them. That's not a problem. So, so I will do it that line type, right? So I'll attach it this also with a line type, and radio button is always a Boolean type. So, so both of them will get attached. So I think, and both of them might not. Okay, so you need to be in edit mode. So this one is attached with the line type. Let's go and attach this also. It is not yet attached. So I will go and where was that line type? I'll drag and drop. So this also comes with a line type now. Okay, so this line type is there, and so as of now, what will happen here is that so this is all tagged to the same line type. So you the same variable is switching. Right? It's a switch function, and based on this, now you can have now you can even write that particular condition, right? So you can come here and that you can say that this one is no. And now based on the no, this is the label what you actually want to pass. You can pass again some one, no is 0, Boolean false. I mean, it is up to you. I can say that, okay, I can say that I want to pass a text as ABC here. If he does a no, because that variable which you have binded in the line type will say that, okay, this is for business. If he says that no, and I can say that the other one, I can say that, say yes, and I can say that it's a individual. So because you know you have created your values, master data, so you know what you want to pass that as a value of the form and how you would like to treat that based on your conditions, right? So everything is in the hands of you, so you can configure each and everything. And in the runtime, you know, it will just display like that, and based on your yes condition, it will pass the individual as a value to that variable which you have bind. Or if you do a no, then the business as a value will go, and based on that condition, if you want to do something else in a cascading way, you can do that. I'm just trying to, you know, help you imagine as what you usually do as part of your requirement is what you can do here. And there are all lot of components out there. If you're willing to learn, it's you know, we can give you a user ID and a password of training, and you can run your use cases, you know, and using all these components. And we can also have one of us help you to discuss the use cases as how you will solve. And once you solve a couple of use cases, yeah, that is all it will take, because you then from there, if you understand what all things does what and how, then that is the only learning curve which is required. So okay.
Awesome. So it's awesome, and yeah, it's good to see actually, because we have been theoretically talking a lot about it. I mean, with Atif, I have been, you know, in touch, and so but it's good to see the things, live thing. Yeah, so it's good that you have brought up that you can provide us the access to get direct, I mean, access to make our hands dirty, right? With this.
Yes.
Yeah, and also, do we have any documentation? I mean, I know maybe it is very initial, but do we have any documentation and use case stories wherein we can, you know, take them and start, you know, working on it, and I mean, and learning the things, right? Instead of.
So
This is where you know, we need to discuss things, and how we should be able to capture the market in terms of, you know, the first goal now should be to achieve break even. Because we have built already, it is a huge system now. It has many things, the processes, the all the different finance management is still left. So all these things are there. We are doing all the 8 components that we discussed to build a platform. So how can we achieve a break even within time period of 4-5 months? The model I already discussed that, you know, we would be going for a license free model, but we would be charging for either on contractual mode.
Atif,
Yes.
if that UI training part is done, then we can stop the recording and discuss the further.
Okay.
okay, so
If
I
not,
have
yeah,
I
if
have,
not, let's continue the training first, and then we can discuss all those things later.
okay. Yes, okay, fine. So the last bit, the third piece of it was the finance, right? That's the another important, because we wanted to automate. The business is not yet automated unless you automate the finance. And before that finance, there was one more little component which we are just started doing, is the reporting. As you might have seen here, there is something called a Saatchi report out there. So I'll just quickly walk you through. It's in a very initial stage. We have only list reporting available, but it's a configurable thing, which means that you can.
I suggest first go to the finance.
Okay, fine. So okay, so finance. I do not have a lot of data, but I can help you visualize with with the finance. So if you go to finance management, this is your first thing in the finance. What you do here is that you will create your chart of accounts, right? So the chart of account is the starting point in which you start defining as how your accounting system is going to look like. Now, from the accounting perspective, we know that you have got this is the equation, right, in the accounting world. The assets, liability, equity, income, expenses, everything in the accounts is going to lie in one of these areas, and you will go ahead and define under these heads your accounting system. So we have defined some of them, and I think we are in the Avatera system, and this is their real accounting system, which we are using. And so once you have defined your accounts and your chart of accounts are ready, how the important point is how it gets linked with your transactions which you do, right? So once you are and that's where I wanted to bring up one slide here quickly, that your whole accounting system, since you have already defined your lines and fronts, right? So your whole accounting system is going to revolve around this, right? So you have got your relationships on which you are connecting with different individuals and businesses. So accounts are going to impact it from those fronts perspective, and then you are selling, doing the transactions on your goods and services. So the accounts are going to be impacted from the your lines perspective. Right. So how we built it was that once you are done with once you have linked, so what you will do here is you will define your control accounts, right? So the control accounts is what you will come here, and under each of these, you will go on defining to the point of real control account. And once you have defined your real control account, now it's time to go and link it with those lines and finances based on certain conditions. Now, so how will you do that? We have something called financial type and the financial action, and that is what we have here. That based on a specific you have basically okay, so let me come here, and that will probably be more okay. So no finance activity. Okay, so what you will do here is one thing is that your a specific goods you will link with a specific action, and that action is where you are going to attach either dynamically based on some rule or based on a fixed thing that that this particular laptop, which is a goods which I sell, is going to impact this account, right? So you will just go here and go and select your control account and link it up. So the linking thing is what you will have to do first. If it's a rule based, right? So the rule based, so then if it is a rule based, then in the runtime you are going to select. So for example, you have two payment methods which you can take on a particular service. The one of the payment method can be a cash, another can be credit. Based on what that customer selects, if he selects a cash, then it is going to affect another real control account. Whereas if he selects and that is obviously going to be a cash account, and if it is a credit, then he is going to it is going to impact another credit account, right? The real control account of the credit thing. And every transaction can have any action. For example, a purchase term or a sales term can have can have multiple debits and multiple credits. So if it is not based on any specific dynamic runtime variable, then it is always going to be fixed. One debit, one credit you always have to do. And that is why you have a default thing. You have an action, come here and define your real control accounts, which is going to be affected by that. If it is not, if you think that the customer is going to do a part payment, for example, he's going to do a part payment in half by a cash, he wants another to be adjusted by his advance, and the third one he wants to get he want a credit on it. So you will go ahead and define based on rule that okay, so I have I have, one rule is based on a specific variable which you will select here. So I may not have variable here. So sales term is, for example, variable, and in sales term I have a cash. Okay, I say that, okay, from a cash perspective, my my asset, because it's a cash, so my assets is receivable is going to be impacted. So I'll go ahead and save, and so this is one rule done, right? So in your form, you will bring up this sales term, and since you have a cache, you will get in your drop down that for a user to select an action. And once a user select an action, you already know that there is an action performed. You are in a particular connection card, right? You are going to put a amount which you are going to accept in a card. You already know what is the real control account, and you already know what is the entry level account. You have everything which you have linked with a specific relationship, with a specific transaction or a specific line. So once you get an entry level account and the corresponding variable value which a user has selected from the drop down, you will put and go ahead and post it in the general, right? It's as simple as that. So user doesn't know anything about what is happening and how the financial reporting is going to happen. He just select a particular action which you have already linked with a relationship or a transaction or a line, because you already know that this line is going to impact this account, right? And that is where we are linking this line at, like what we have at relationship level, transaction style level, and a line level. Similarly, we are doing we are linking the finance related variables also to those three categories. So you have a line. Just from the purpose of segregation of the things, we are doing a little more here, so that it doesn't clutter up for a user. We are saying that, you have three things here. uh, you can have a lot of actions in your accounting system, right, as over a period of time. But what you will do here is collection of actions. You will list, create a grouping by financial type. For example, as we are showing up here as a merchandising or a banking is one of the financial type, and under that you have actions available, return action, for example, or a sales action. So, and once you have done a financial type and an action linking with those lines and relationships, and you are impacting, you are relating your accounts, then that is all I need, right? Because you are on a specific connection card or a transaction card or a unit card, because on that card you have got a line or a relationship, and we already know that how it is going to impact your accounts, and we'll just go and punch it, post the data into general, and from general it will move on to the general ledger, and that's all. You are done. All you need is just the reports then. So, and as an end user, a finance guy is going to have this interface. He will define as what we have defined, and this is the real, accounting system example with some variations here of this total industry, and from there we have those variables which are defined. And right now they have sales term and purchase term, and within that we have actions, and from those actions we have those linkings, and based on the records we are giving them a drop down, and from the drop down we have that thing. We have that posting to general and general ledger. So from the end user perspective, once you have your account hierarchy and chart of accounts defined and the variables defined, all you need to pull in a form is just a drop down as what if, and that too in case of a variable binding. If you don't know that if you have multiple options available on that action, then end user has to select, and that too in a more user friendly way, that he will select credit, debit, or whatever you want to show it as a value, and he selects a value and it gets passed on, and we have everything to post it in the right account. So this is pretty much straightforward. The reason is because we are doing it everything on a card, and we are giving you an option to go in any degree of freedom you like, and you define it. And once you have defined it, you link it with these three areas, and your profit and loss, balance sheet, everything gets ready. So the point we are in right now, up till the posting general and the general ledger, we are almost done there. The reports is something which we are working on now, which means that we know that there are some standard compliance related reports, P&L statement, the balance sheets, that is something which we are building it up. Once that is available, the very next thing is from the card perspective, from the control account perspective, you want to see it by a particular hierarchy, from this higher control account perspective, you want to see how much sales you have done. Those additional canned reports is something which we are going to add in the upcoming releases. So questions on this?
No, pretty straightforward. It's okay.
Okay. So I think that's all we had. I mean, finance is almost, if you know finance, then it's straightforward because you do not really have a lot of things out there. You just need to link it up and define your accounts. And there are complexities out there, but the important thing here is you have an option to manage those things. And that is what is out here. You define your new hierarchy and define your new action, and those variables you link it up here in the action, and that action will be available based on a state condition, and user will just perform that, and it will go and post that link. And the only thing in a financial thing is that and the reports, right, and the navigation and slicing and dicing of your data by different perspective, and that is what is going to come. That is going to be more of a report thing rather than handling the finance. You can still do it using manual methods of exporting data Excel and then do that. That feature of slicing dicing is what we are working on to give it in the upcoming releases. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, then I'm done with the three areas which I wanted to cover. If you have any specific question or any specific use cases, we can obviously deep dive and take a separate session and see how we will solve that problem.